Hey everybody, Coach here. Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode. This week we are talking about the power a DIYer can glean from a professional consultation, a landscape consultation. Sometimes we have questions and we're not sure how to get through that glass ceiling of a larger landscape project. Yeah, I'm glad you're here. Let's get started, shall we? You know, I recently received an email from a subscriber and also a customer to Homescape 1.0. And they had some really interesting questions about a landscape project they were embarking on. They had some questions regarding grading and some placement and other stuff. And the funny thing is that we were actually in the area at the time, at least heading through that area. And I posed the question, I said, hey, you know, you're deserving of a 30-minute consultation as being a customer of Homescape 1.0. Do you want us to swing by? And they said, hey, great, that would be fantastic. So we've been visiting here for a couple of days. And you can feel, it's almost palpable, the excitement they have about getting this landscape project underway and completed, because their growing season up here in the northern latitudes is much shorter than a lot of people that are in the southern latitudes. And when I mean southern states of the USA. So when we arrived, we had our cordial social things. They were doing their thing. We were kind of doing our thing. And we just kind of let things go for the first evening. But the next morning, we were out talking. And it was really, really gratifying to see them somewhat prepared when it came to the consultation itself. I mean, they kind of had an idea what they wanted to do. They showed me the area. They showed me the soils, the exposure, what's here, what's not here, and what they kind of want to see as an end result. And as I listened more than talked, which I usually kind of did on consultations, both DIY consultations and design consultations, you professionals out there, learn to use this and not this so much. And at the end, we talked for about an hour, maybe 2 hours or so, and they kind of had a couple of aha moments, or we really didn't think about things that way type of moments. And for a professional, for a consultant, that is so gratifying. It's so rewarding to see a problem kind of solved with just a couple little tweaks here and there. So what were some of the things that we talked about? Well, we talked about drainage swales, grading and filling, irrigation system, cleaning the irrigation system out in the fall to protect it from the heavy winters that they have here. And by the end, they kind of had a mental roadmap of which they were going to be doing. Kind of neat, huh? You can do the same thing. It is a small investment in dollars. You're actually taking a professional's time and then you're having them regurgitate all their experience and professional knowledge about questions that you have. This is our focus of today's video. It's what you can do to move your project forward using a professional's knowledge and experience, and then turning it around and doing it yourself. What happens then? You have a much sharper image of how to go about it. You have saved tens of thousands of dollars maybe by not hiring someone to do the whole thing, and yet you have the confidence and now some of the knowledge base in order to move forward. It's a win-win situation, it really is. I'll tell you up front, a lot of landscape professionals do not do consultations, and I'll tell you why. There are designers and there are contractors. And there are some, which I was proud to say I was, you're a designer and a contractor, and you're educated in the classroom for many years in order to round yourself out. A lot of contractors don't know their plants, they don't know horticulture, they know construction. And a lot of designers know horticulture, they know plants, and they know graphic designs and stuff, but they don't know construction. So by getting a blend and finding that professional that can answer the questions of maybe both realms, big bonus and big pluses when it comes to that consultation time. It's very, very rewarding for us to see the ideas that we are posing and the reason why we propose it take root into a client and they go, I know exactly what you're talking about, and we could do this, this, and this, and the consultation appointment takes off and starts running. So from a client's perspective, one of the things that you can really take advantage of is by being prepared before the consultation appointment. I'll give you an example. During my designing years and such, I would always give my clients a very simple homework assignment before I even arrived. And that was basically to seek out, take pictures, and take note of things that they would like to see in their landscape, design. And it gave them a leg up and a focus point on which to really seriously start thinking about what could go into this project. It's not like a total reliance on the designer or the consultant that's coming in. It's actually engaging that client to start thinking about their DIY project. During the consultation itself, if you really listen, if you listen to the consultant and you hear their words either by recording it, maybe videoing it if it's appropriate, and you actually take that information, it is really a great way to flatten. Instead of having a steep learning curve, you can flatten in a matter of a couple hours at the most on the way and steps that you need to do in order to launch your project, get into the meat of your project, and then get across that finish line with a nice, professional looking product that you did yourself. All because you hired that professional to come over for X number of dollars and you just grabbed all the information out of their brain or her brain that you possibly can. Now, a little bit about the consultant themselves. Anybody can call themselves a professional if they are a skosh above the average layman and they take money for the services that they provide. Call yourself a professional, okay? But since you are hiring somebody and you're going to put them into a warp factor 10 question and answer session while you have them there, because it is costing you a few bucks, you kind of have to start at the phone call or the initial email or however you reached out and got a hold of him or her. Here's a couple of suggestions that I would give you if you're looking and shopping for a consultant to come out and help you. Number one, they actually answered their phone, they answered your email, or they called you back in a reasonable period of time. Number one, off the gate, most important thing. How many of you out there have tried to find a contractor, handyman, repairman, consultant, whatever, and they never call you back? How rude, right? It used to be the motto of my company, hey, we call you back. Because I found when I started my business, people never called back. They were so busy or they were so arrogant or whatever it was, they didn't feel the need to call people back. Number two is a reasonable appointment time. An appointment time frame that works with you and it works for them. Here's an example. The example would be you call them July 1st. You have an August time frame that you want to do your DIY project. But the closest time that this consultant can get there is the end of September. Really doesn't do any good, does it? So a reasonable time frame of maybe less than 2 weeks to have come out for an hour or two and talk about that project. Reasonable time frame. Number three, a reasonable fee schedule. And we'll talk about dollars here in just a second, but a fee schedule of, they're not trying to blow you off by inflating a consultation fee price. An example would be, yeah, I could do it next week. It's $1,500 for 2 hours. Okay? No, that's not an industry standard in any way, shape, or form. I don't care how hoity-toity people you're dealing with. That's exorbitant. Okay? But a reasonable fee schedule where you hear the figure and you go, okay, that makes sense to me. Number four, a brief curriculum vitae of the person you're talking to. Do they have some education? How many years they've been in business? What specific part of the industry are they? Are they just a designer? Are they just a contractor? Are they just an irrigation specialist? Number five, communication style and articulation. Do they speak to you on a level that you can understand? And this is just the initial phone call. Or do they try to expound on all their knowledge and talk way in the hell over your head? And you kind of go, what? Well, you know, you shake your head going, well, I don't understand what you're talking about. That is not a good consultant. You want someone that talks to you right at your same level and explains things to you in a way that you can understand. And lastly, number 6, you should get a sense of subdued eagerness that the person wants to do business with you. They want to come out and talk to you. This is their zen, and this is what they do for a living, and they have a little bit of passion that you can kind of pick up on. Okay, let's talk about the appointment time. You guys have talked, you are eager and willing to pay the fee, you've set a date and everything else. When the appointment time gets there, I strongly urge you to have a few things in your manila folder ready to go. Number 1, what are your top 5 questions that you really need to address? You need to get an answer for. You need to have those down, and you, as the consumer, need to kind of direct the conversation to make sure you get those top 5 things answered. And you may, you know, weave in and out of conversation, but you get the top 5 answered. Don't jump on some kind of sidebar rocket and you go off talking about roof shingles and underground electrical work if that is not what you're looking to get an answer for. Another thing is you are there to learn for yourself, and you're not there to be sold anything. And many consultants, you know, they run a business that maybe has a design service, maybe it has a construction service, who knows what they have, and you don't need to have those things shoved down your throat. That's not the key focus of a consultation. You're the focus to get your questions answered. Now, if you allow the conversation to go in that direction, so be it. But make it a firm but fair point that you're not here to buy anything today. Now, did I go to consultations and I turned out getting business more than just the appointment? Absolutely. But it wasn't done at the behest of me. It was done at the behest of my client at the time. We get into conversations about designing, and maybe they don't have an artistic flair. They don't know how to put stuff down on paper. And they ask, and I say, well, of course I do. You know, I do that. Well, how much does that stuff cost? And so on and so forth. But it was initiated by them, not me. So don't be sold anything that you're not in the market for. So what is the average landscape consultation cost? It is like gasoline. And if you've ever noticed, gasoline is all priced at a local level. What does the market bear in your area? Now, if you're in a big city with, suburbia around you, and you have a suburban home, you know, you can kind of get a self-awareness that I live in a really nice neighborhood. I have homes that are worth way up into the 6 figures, maybe low 7 figures. And you know that the landscape companies around there, they're fetching, you know, high 5 and 6 figure dollars for that kind of job. So you have to go, okay, so consultation might be X number of dollars per hour with a certain minimum. Mine was generally $60 an hour with a 2-hour minimum. And that was within the county that I worked and lived. And if I went out of county, it went up according to the amount of distance that I had to travel. So I got a little bit of gas money, and then got there, talked to them, and a little bit of gas money coming back, and everything was fair. Don't try to rip a professional off. We will sense it, we know it, we feel it, just like you would if you're trying to be sold something, or you have a professional show up and he wants to talk to you for 15 minutes and go, okay, I gotta go. Hope is everything, can I get my check? Okay? No. Respect the professional's time as much as they're respecting your time. Very good relationships start off that way, or they end that way just as quickly. So to wrap it up, what a good consultant will do at the end of the time frame that you have bought this person for, they will generally wrap up the conversation by, have I answered all your questions that you had for me today? And do you have any other questions as a result of our conversation? This is kind of the segue to our time has kind of run out. It's time for the professional to move on and go about their day. And then, are you satisfied? And if you are, and everybody's going perfect, thumbs up, then it's time for you, the consumer, to cut a check or throw the greenbacks out and say, thank you very much. You have answered everything and you exceeded our expectations. Try to find a professional that wants to underpromise and then over-deliver when they get there. You will have your professional that you want to keep in your hip pocket. Now, once you have done all this and you've gained all this knowledge and you've taken all these notes and you've taken photos or you've audio recorded some things and you go launch, don't think that that consultant isn't available again. You know, you might want to end the first conversation by saying, when we get in the middle of this, is it okay if I call you to come back and kind of give us an idea of how we're doing and where we're going and point out any things we've done really well or some things that we could improve on or, oh my gods, we need to change this, one or the other. And if you have that professional in your pocket, have them on speed dial while you're doing your project. Guys, that's what I have for you this week. The power of a professional consultation when it comes to a landscape project can be invaluable. It really can. And knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more confidence will be instilled and the more confidence and reliability in your own skills to get out there and do that stuff yourself. And I'm talking about a landscape project more than just building a little vegetable garden bed. Okay? I'm talking about a makeover. I am still in the consulting business. And if you're interested, I'm not trying to sell you anything, just check out the website. We do have a consultation where we do it virtually and online, and we can work with you. All right? So check it out if you get a chance, youryardcoach.com. And if you have any questions about this particular episode or any other landscape questions, youryardcoach@gmail.com. Okay, so here's a question for you, the short that I did earlier in the week, introducing this week's episode. Tell me in the comments below or in an email what you would do with that particular landscape consultation. What ideas would you give these people and how would you go about presenting it so it sounded like it would really work? What kind of things would you do? Let me know. I would really like it. That is a heck of a home. A beautiful ranch style home in a beautiful location of our country, but it's nothing but grass. And there's a few things that could really be added, and I added for them. So you tell me, what would you do? Let me know. I'll catch you next week. Bye for now.